Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me? I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share with you this webinar about putting the mystery into teaching reading and writing. The Florida Literacy Coalition is teaming up with Mystery Writers of America, Florida chapter, to put together a short story writing contest called Everyone Loves a Good Mystery, which I think is going to be a really fun opportunity for our students to stretch themselves a little bit, to do a different kind of reading than they may ordinarily be doing, and certainly to try new kinds of writing. Can we take a quick poll at this point? Nicole, I'll ask the question and then you can report back. I was wondering if anyone in the audience had taught mysteries before, had used mysteries as a text in their classrooms.
Let's go ahead and raise your hand if you've ever used mystery. Okay. Wow. Okay. It looks like Julie Hill is the only one who has used it.
Okay, well that's great. So we have Julie. You can maybe share some of your insights, but for everybody else, we'll be learning together, which is great. Another question I had is how many people have taught fiction writing, and I ask that because so much of the what we're geared toward, either both at the adult basic ed level and the GED level, is personal essay writing and evidence-based text-dependent writing, so we don't often have the opportunity to teach fiction writing. So I wondered if anybody had done that in their classroom before.
There's a couple of people who've raised their hand. Let's see. Carmen Rostar, I think, and Gail Guy, I think, are the only two who raised their hand on that one.
Okay, well that's great too. That's wonderful. For me, this is new. As you said in the introduction, I've been teaching adult education and GED classes for a long time, and have really done very little fiction writing for those reasons that I mentioned. So I'm excited about learning together with everybody else and trying this in my classroom. This is my name, Ann Meisenzahl, and my email address. If you have any questions about the content and wanted to reach me, that would be great. I would be happy to talk to you about it after the webinar via email. Randy Rawls with Mystery Writers of America Florida chapter was a co-designer of this PowerPoint presentation when we presented it at the Florida Literacy Coalition Conference in May. And that's his email address if you had a very specific question about the Mystery Writers of America or his relationship to the contest. I wanted to call everybody's attention now to the details of the Florida Literacy Coalition Coalition's Mystery Writing Contest. If you go to the website, and what I'm going to do is click on this link, it comes right up when you go to the website. I'll click on it to show you. Hopefully it won't take too long. But the Florida Literacy Coalition has done a nice job of having all of the information for you right there on the website. So this is the page you get if you type floridaliteracy.org. There will be a banner right in front, and you click on the banner, and this is what will come up. Everyone Loves a Good Mystery Short Story Writing Contest. Will talk about who can participate, what to submit, great prizes, and I'm going to be walking all of this through with you in the PowerPoint. But I just wanted you to have a sense of where to get it and what it looks like. It's very user-friendly. Okay, let me see how easy it is for me to get back. There we go. If you have any questions or concerns about the contest itself, this is Nicole's email address, ncaban@floridaliteracy.org, and you can contact her. Who can participate in the contest? The contest is open to anybody in adult education, any of our adult learners in literacy programs, GED, ESOL, family literacy programs in the state of Florida. There is a limit of 1 entry per student. Students are asked to submit original unpublished fiction that doesn't exceed 2,000 words in length. There are some story starters on the website, and I'll be walking you through those as well. But students who submit can use one of the story starters, which are writing prompts essentially, or can start their story their own way and do an original story. So either is fine. We want to really let our students know how that this is a real contest with some real prizes. First place winners, the one first place winner will get $300, second place winner $200, and there might be as many as 2 honorable mention winners for $75 each. And so that's kind of fun and exciting and nothing I don't think we've done before. All entries must be submitted in English and must be the original creation and the work of the submitting author. But certainly as teachers and tutors, our job is to help our students become better writers, and certainly we can help with editing, revision, reorganizing, and all of that. Importantly, because of this genre, which tends to have some elements of murder, mysteries, and that sort of thing, in this genre, we wanted to emphasize that and to make students aware that submissions should not include descriptions of gratuitous sex or violence, should not denigrate or put down any particular group based on race, ethnicity, gender, religion, or sexual orientation. And even though that I'm sure is obvious to most of us, we just wanted to make that explicit to the students. In the process of submitting their story, the author of the story will have to agree to give permission to the Florida Literacy Coalition to publish their story and display it on the website if it is selected as a winner or an honorable mention. Of course, the submission deadline has to be on Halloween, October 31st, 2016, and also in the submission guidelines, there's a place for students to include a short biography written in the third person. If anybody has had their students submit to the Florida Literacy Coalition adult learner essay book, very similar process where there's a place, and I'll show this to you, but there's a place to click to get to the place to submit the essay and then, or the story, and a place to write a short biography. And that's a really good writing activity too, to learn how to describe yourself in the third person. So if I were to do that, I'd say Ann Meisenzahl is a teacher at Adult and Community Ed in Tallahassee, Florida, and she's been teaching for blah, blah, blah. So whatever is a short description for that person. Entries should be double-spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font. They can be submitted in MS Word or as a PDF. That's a good experience too, obviously, for our students to submit essays in this kind of formal, standard way, because that's how most of college essays would be submitted. So that's good practice. And let me, since we're on it, let me show you the essay contest form and what that looks like. So I'm going to click on this now. It's TFA forms, but it's very easy to see on the website. Let me show you what that looks like. So when you click on the button that says Submit Here, this is what's going to come up. It's a review of the contest rules. I can imagine if you wanted to as a class, you could print this out so you could all read this together and review what's involved in the contest. But you see there are places here for students to type in their name, their email address, the name of the literacy program, teacher name, teacher email, city, state, and phone. And then in this section here is where they're going to upload their story. And I don't see it here, so what I'm guessing I haven't checked this, but what I'm guessing is that after they submit, there will be a place for the 40-word biography. Okay. Any questions so far? Just about the logistics of the contest.
Okay, I think we have some questions. Let me see. Okay, we have a pretty good question here from Laura Brannon. How would this work for CM inmates? They do not have computer access to be able to submit their story. That's going to be a special case, and you can go ahead and contact me, and we can make arrangements for that. Okay, Laura? And that's pretty much it for questions. Yeah, I think that's it for questions right now.
Good, and I think part of the reason there aren't many questions is because the format that Florida Literacy Coalition has developed is very straightforward. Trust me, if you go on the website, it's pretty much all laid out for you, so that shouldn't be a problem for anybody. What I'd like to do now is review with you some of the lesson plans that are available for you to use, again, through the website. We're going to be talking about some of the handouts that you can just print and use in the classroom to get students familiar with the genre, familiar with the vocabulary. I'll show you the mystery story skeleton, mysterious vocabulary. There's a matching game that uses the vocabulary. There's a handout called How to Be a Close Reading Detective, which is, you know, obviously a good strategy for any reading that we're doing to teach students how to read closely, look for key information and that sort of thing. I'm going to be showing you how to access some online mysteries and some printable short stories so that you don't have to be scrambling around trying to invent the wheel, because there's already lots of great stuff out there. I want to show you what there is. And then I'll show you what some of the short story starts are that Randy Rawls wrote that you can encourage your students to start from. And then there's lastly a guide sheet called Writing a Mystery Story, which will guide students through the steps of actually writing a story to submit to the contest. I'll go through these slides quickly because these are an overview of what's on the handouts, and I want to show you the actual handouts in a minute. But one of the things we're going to look at is the mystery story skeleton. And as you can see, there are some key components to a mystery story that we'll review with the students. We want to share with them key vocabulary. The beauty of this, of course, is this is good reading vocabulary anyway for our ESOL students, for our beginning readers, for our GED students. It's really important that they know this vocabulary anyway for whatever they're reading. There are a couple words that are particular to mystery stories, like distractions and red herrings, which I learned from Randy. I didn't know. Those of you who read mysteries on your own know that a red herring is a false lead that throws the investigator off track. So that's a kind of fun part of the genre. What is a sleuth? What is evidence? And of course, this is great for teaching evidence-based writing. We need to be looking for evidence in prose for the GED, so why not practice with a mystery story? So I'll show you the handout that goes with this vocabulary. I'll show you the handout that goes with being a close reading detective, which is a reminder for students about how to read more carefully. So let me click on this to show you what these handouts look like. So if we go to the main page for the writing contest, we've already reviewed all of these things. Story starters are here. If we keep going down to lesson plans, I'm going to click here, and that's where these various lesson plans that I've been talking about are housed. So let me click on Introduction. I'll show you what each of these looks like. Okay, so at the beginning of this, I have just steps for the teacher on how to introduce the contest to the students. And this is just reviewing with them what we've just talked about. And what I actually don't see here, short story mystery writers contest rules. It says distribute the handout. I'm noticing this as I bring it up. So probably what you would want to do is print out those rules from the website, because it doesn't look like I have them here. But if we find them as we go, I'll point them out. But it looks like in step number 3 that you're going to want to print those out from the website. Okay, so now let me show you the mystery story skeleton handout. So here's steps for the teacher, very basic, kind of introducing to students by asking them, what is a mystery? Has anyone ever read a mystery story or a novel? What are some words they might know that have to do with mysteries? And then the handout is here for you to print. And this would be something that with your class you'd want to go over together what some of these key words and phrases related to mysteries are. Clues, what is a red herring, what are distractions? And this will all apply later when they read mystery stories, so you might want to read this in advance with the class, review the vocabulary, but then have it available so that when you are reading a story, they can be checking back with that vocabulary and saying, oh, let's talk about the sequence of events that in the story that we just read. What does sequence of events mean again? Let's talk about distractions. What does that mean and what were they in the story? So this would be a really good reference sheet to look back and forth at. Some of the key vocabulary, again on this handout that's on the page, steps, how to use this. Again, very straightforward. There's a list of key mystery vocabulary. Again, you may want to review this with the students, see if students know any of these words ahead of time, maybe ask them to put the definition into their own words, and then you want to have this as a reference sheet so that you can go back and look at it when you're actually reading mystery stories, so that they continually reinforce the meaning of these definitions, of these vocabulary words. So to practice that, we have a vocabulary matching game, which is just a matter of your printing and then cutting up and then scrambling so that they match the word in bold to the definition on the right. And again, if you have reviewed these with them, had them use the words in sentences, had them write them in their own words, they're going to be pretty comfortable with these and be able to practice them when they play this game with each other. You may want to print it on cardstock, cut it up and put, what I do sometimes is I will put, make 5 or 6 copies of a matching game, put them in envelopes, and then have students work in pairs or threes to match the word to the definition, and that can be just a really fun way to reinforce the meaning of these vocabulary words. Okay, just 2 more to show you. Again, like I say, these are very easy to get to on the website. Lesson 5, just another handout to review with students the importance of reading closely. How do you read anything? The metaphor of a detective is great for mystery writing, mystery stories, but it's great for any reading our students are doing. So the idea of them thinking of themselves as a detective who's looking for clues. I use this metaphor when I'm talking about writing text-dependent writing for the GED, because they have to be looking for clues and evidence that the author gives to support their argument so that they can write about whether or not that argument is valid, whether it's well supported. So the idea of being a close reading detective is very valuable for any GED reading and writing that they're doing, and you can tell them that. If they say, why are we doing this when we should be studying for the GED? You can say, this is a fun way to practice the very skills that you're going to need for the test. So reviewing with them the skills related to being a close reading detective, that they're going to need to pre-read, review with the students what pre-reading looks like. Reading with a pencil. They're all often told when they took the FCAT in high school or whatever, don't write on the test. As much as possible, if we can give them materials that they can write on, and if they can't write on them, give them sticky notes so that they can be interacting with the text, circling, underlining, looking up words as they go, using the context to help them, writing questions, making connections. So we want them really interacting with the text. And then in terms of mysteries, we want them to have that mystery writing element sheet next to them so they can be actually looking for those elements as they read. Oh, here's an example of a detective. Here's an example of evidence. Here's an example of a distraction, that sort of thing. Okay, whoops. Let me go back to, somehow I got out of the slideshow. I'll be right there. Okay. Nicole, I didn't make a slide for questions at this point, but I'm wondering if if it would be okay to ask if anybody has any questions, since that was a lot of content.
Okay, so let's look at some of the questions, see if anyone has any. Hold on one second. Okay. Sylvia Giovanardi is asking, could it be done in pairs, Anne?
The actual writing of the story? I assume that's what she means.
Yes.
Certainly all of the activities on the handouts could be done in pairs, could be done in small groups, and I always encourage that because that's such a socially beneficial and positive way for students to learn from each other. As far as the writing goes, I don't see why students couldn't write it in pairs. I would have to defer to the Literacy Coalition for that, but I would caution that the problem might be with the prize. So that if there were a winner, they'd have to figure out what to do about the prize. So I don't know if, Nicole, if you have a response to that or if that's something we should defer to Greg.
That's probably something we'll defer to Greg, and so we'll get the answer for that later.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, we have a couple of questions here. Let's see. What grades can enter the contest?
This is open to any student who's in adult literacy programs, adult education. So that would be anything from beginning readers in ABE programs all the way up to GED level students, ESOL students.
Okay. So Lisa is asking, what was the next one in the list after close reading?
All right, let's go back and I'll show you, because I don't remember. Okay, so, like I say, all this is here under lesson plans on the floridaliteracy.org. So under close reading, writing a mystery story, we haven't gotten to that yet, because I want to show you, because I think of lessons one, that's a really good question, thank you for asking that. So I think of lessons 1 through 5 as the lessons that you would probably do before beginning reading and while reading. And I'm going to show you some of the resources that are available to use with students when you're actually reading mysteries. Lesson 6, I would say, would be best to do after they've done a little bit of mystery reading already, so they have a really good sense of the genre, of the vocabulary, of the kind of basic structure of a mystery. And then we're going to go to Lesson 6, which I will get to in the PowerPoint, which will walk you through how to help them to write a mystery story. Now, it doesn't mean it couldn't be done in a different order, and it doesn't mean that there aren't students who just are anxious to jump right in, and you might want to give them some opportunities to start writing right away. But just the way I've structured this, we do the intro to the elements of mystery writing before we do the actual reading, and then we're going to talk about writing. Does that make sense? But I think it's certainly flexible, and you can use your judgment.
Okay. And so we do have an answer to Sylvia's question. We can accept co-submissions, yes.
Okay, great.
That's
great.
it.
Okay, well, what I think I'll do now then is share with you some of the resources that are available online and to purchase. The vast majority of these are free and they're available online. And I wanted to show you how many are out there and how fun some of them are. Some are going to be appropriate to some groups and not others. So it's obviously you will use your discretion about your grade level, your students' reading abilities, backgrounds, that kind of thing. What's fun and what's interesting to you. So I just want to share with you all the different kinds of things that are out there so you can choose what you think would work best to support this in your classroom. This first website, and all of these resources, by the way, are on the website as well, under resources. The first website I want to show you has to do with short mysteries that can be read aloud, and they have the answers to them. I believe that there's a caveat on these that they don't want you to print them, and I think that's why I wrote it that way, but let's go look. This is called mysterydigest.com, and this is what this page looks like, and it will have, for example, the case of the desert caper will come right up, and it's very short. You'll see it's 3 paragraphs. That might be something that if you had a projector, you could project it. You could all read it out loud together. And how do they solve it? Let's see. Oh, and then here we go. I take that back. It's not as short as I thought. Read more. Okay, so it's longer than I thought, but it's still not that long. So it's 5 or 6 or 7 short paragraphs, and then you might show it in such a way. So if you see what I'm doing with the screen here, I'm going to set it up in such a way that we can read the whole thing, but not the answer. So you might do that in a class. You might project it, and then here's the question: why did Detective Nose suspect that Jason was not being completely honest? Answer. So again, you might read through these ahead of time and see which of these would be fun to read in your class. And there are, let's see, if we go back to their first page, so there's the case of the murdered husband and the desert caper and the 30 minutes or less. So again, short, easy to access mysteries. You may want to read them ahead of time if you're afraid that some of them have too much murder or too much violence, or whatever you decide, but looking at them ahead of time probably wouldn't hurt. So that's that. Another one is called www.mysterynet.com. Again, more online mysteries that can be solved with clues. So I think you'll have fun just kind of exploring some of these websites. Whoops, I went to an advertisement. I apologize. Let me get out of here. I'm going to have to move my little guy here. I am sure I want to leave this page. There we go. What I liked about this page is that it has some very short mysteries that are written by contemporary folks, but there's also links to classic mysteries over here. So Edgar Allan Poe, Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, some of those, the big names in mysteries. Read the history of the mystery. So again, play around with this site and see if any of these stories look interesting to you in your classroom. Short brain teasers is at www.brangle.com/mystery. And this one, these were written by regular folks who just like writing mystery brain teasers and wanted to submit them to this website. So they would definitely need to be vetted by you if they're quality writing or not. You don't want to print out something for your class that's not well written or that has a lot of mistakes in it, and you just don't always know. But some of them I think would be great. I think I looked through some and some were really fun. So again, play around with that website and see if there's some in here that you'd want to use. I really like this website. It's called www.hornpipe.com, and it has vintage short mystery classics. So some of the names will be familiar to all of us. And again, what is nice about these is that you don't have to buy a book because these are online. These are public domain, so you can print out a story by H.G. Wells, G.K. Chesterton, Leo Tolstoy, some of the classic writers. Again, some may be too difficult for some of our students. Maybe some you would read out loud rather than have them read on their own, just depending on the level of difficulty. But I've certainly read, I read Telltale Heart to my students one Halloween in a fairly beginning level group. And even though some of the vocabulary was difficult, the content was riveting, and I read it to them. And we were certainly able to talk about, you know, the power of the story and the moral of the story and that sort of thing. Okay, let me show you. This website also has some classics. It's called www.mysterynet.com. And what comes up first is a Chaparral Christmas Gift, which is a short story by O. Henry. Very intriguing story that takes place on a ranch. It's about 5 pages long, so it's something you could read over the course of a couple of days. Again, read aloud to your students, project it on the screen, and ask them to take turns reading. Read in small groups, any of the different ways that you might read a story, and then at the same time having that those mystery elements handouts right next to them so you can be going back and forth and discussing as you read. Let's see what else we got here. If anyone has ever heard of the #1 Ladies Detective Agency, it's a classic, wonderful story, and I was able to find online the first chapter. If the students fall in love with it, you may want to order the book and read the whole book, but on this page they do have let us have access to the whole I believe it's the whole first chapter, but it's certainly a significant excerpt from the book. This is about a woman in Botswana who is the only female detective. I'll show you the first paragraph of the story. I like it so much and think it's so much fun for our students. And she goes about solving all kinds of mysteries, none of which are gory or disturbing. They're all just sort of daily life mysteries, but it's very intriguing. Mademoiselle Ramotswe had a detective agency in Africa at the foot of Kigali Hill. These were its assets: a tiny white van, 2 desks, 2 chairs, a telephone, and an old typewriter. Then there was a teapot in which she, the only lady detective in Botswana, brewed red bush tea. And all about her detective agency and her human intuition, and the stories are very intriguing. So read it yourself if you don't share it with your students. This one is a real favorite of mine. This website is the FBI website, and I thought this could be a really interesting thing to use in the classroom if you have access to a projector or if you could put every student at a computer. Because what they have is lots and lots of activities about how detectives work and what their strategies are for solving crimes. So I would recommend not using the K through 5, but going instead to the middle school 12th grade section. So there's a section called History of the FBI. Now that could be something really interesting to read aloud as a group. There's a lot of good history in here and lots of places to click, or have them work individually on computers and read this and talk about it. A day in the life of a private investigator. This could give them a lot of good ideas for creating mystery stories if they actually walk through the day of a detective trying to solve a crime. And what you do, it's nice how it's set up because they have you actually walk through his day by clicking on what he does in a he or she, Sydney could be a man or a woman, I like that, what he or she does in a typical day. And again, you can see that you could have students 2 at a computer reading this to each other. You could read this as a class, but you'd have to have access to a computer for this, which unfortunately wouldn't be accessible to folks working in corrections. Teacher has access to a computer and she can project it. This website is the Teachers Pay Teachers website, which I don't know if anybody's ever used this before, but this is teachers who create materials and put them online for other teachers to download. And you'll see that they are minimal cost, but may in fact be pretty useful, and it's nice to know that you're supporting another teacher. Let me show you on this one the reason I picked this particular person's work, because he has got 2 or 3 different sets of activities that have to do with mysteries. He's got an integrated skills unit, an ESL course book, all about mysteries and whodunits. Mystery story organizer worksheet, clue by clue, the perfect crime mystery game, murder of a millionaire mystery, and then this one is all of his activities bundled together, clue by clue bundle. I haven't read these myself, I haven't vetted them, so if you probably want to maybe try one and see if you like it and then buy the whole set. They don't get mailed to you, but you're able to download them. So it's similarly, you'd have handouts that you can use in the class if you thought these were good. Okay. ReadWriteThink.org has a couple of printable short stories that are short mysteries. So again, take a look at these, see if these are a good content for your students. If you think 2-page story that might, well, longer than I thought, 3-page, that, you know, they might get hooked trying to solve what's going on in this story, and it might give them ideas to inspire their own writing. Here's another printable short story that's available online. I wanted to take some time talking to you about Townsend Press. I don't know if anyone has ordered books from Townsend Press, but the Bluford series is very popular. But in addition to the Bluford series, which is about contemporary stories about young people at Bluford High School, the Townsend Press has lots of classics written at an adult education level. So, for example, what I've done here, and it's on the resource page, is I've highlighted those that would be particularly good to read when you're focusing on mysteries. So there's H.G. Wells and Dracula and Arthur Conan Doyle, and there are also some contemporary stories that are in book form. Let me show you what the Townsend Press webpage looks like for anybody who hasn't ordered from them before. They have right on that page is all the different categories of books that they have. have. What I like to do is go, let's see. Yeah, so you're literally just going down through it and picking out the ones that would be relevant to you. And I've noted the ones that I think are the most related to this topic. So there's Dracula, you could decide to read as a class, Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, lots, great stories of suspense. There's one in particular I wanted to show you, which is actually part of the Bluford series. Lost on the Mountain, that sounds good. That sounds like a good mystery. You can see how many of their books are classics that they have adapted. Let's see, I think I'm going to... Oh, see, and there's a couple new ones here. Scary stories, scary medical stories, and those, the beauty of those is that the stories are going to be short, so you wouldn't have to commit to reading a whole book. Swamp Curse is a mystery that some of my students really like. It's a little bit lower reading level, more 4th grade rather than 6th grade, which some of the others are. And I'm taking the time to show you this actually partly because I think it's fabulous. You notice how cheap the books are. So if you wanted to get a class set of a book and read it out loud, it might be affordable for your program. Lost and Found is a kind of a mystery, but Secrets in the Shadows over here is a genuine mystery story about a young man who is accused of murdering an old man who he had a lot of affection for, but who he stole money from him, and apparently the old man had a heart attack, and then he had to be involved in burying the old man in the basement. It's very intense and very scary, but the ending is actually very positive and uplifting, and that's true of many of the stories in the Bluford series, actually all of them. So if you're going to choose a classroom text that where you all read the whole book, I would highly recommend that one. I've used that many times. Secrets in the Shadows. Okay. What I want to show you now, so anyway, that was those were, just to recap, you want to introduce students to all the elements of a mystery, all the vocabulary, so they're pretty comfortable with how to do close reading and what to look for. Then you want to share with them some actual mysteries, and you want to deconstruct those mysteries, looking at the elements, talking about what works and what doesn't, and how detectives work, and trying to solve the mysteries together, so they get a real feel for how mystery stories work, so that when it's time for them to start writing, they're pretty comfortable with the genre. On the website, there's a place where you can click Mystery Short Story Starters. Let me show you what these look like. These were all written by Randy Rawls with the Mystery Writers of America Florida chapter. And they're just a way to get our students sort of excited by giving them a, let's see if it comes up. Whoops, doesn't want to come up for me. Let's try this one. Okay, there it is. Well, there it goes. So you can see this is just a few lines. Jacob held his cell phone at eye level. "What the heck?" he said, giving it a shake. And then he and Ariana go back and forth about his phone and what's wrong with the phone. It turns out that the screen went black, and then the phone message says, "I own your phone and I own you." So that could be a fun way for students to kind of, in small groups, maybe you want to do, somebody asked about small groups, maybe you want to write a couple stories as small groups to play with them and share them with the class, and then ask students to write a story on their own that they would want to submit. So that's another way to do that. But you certainly don't have to only write one story. They could try different story starters as a group, as a whole group, as a small groups, or individually. So there's, let's see. Oops, did the wrong thing here. Out, get back to my PowerPoint. So each of these that you click on will give you access to handout. It's not wanting to get me there. But on the Florida Literacy Coalition website, I can assure you, you will have access to them and can print them out. Let's see if this one comes up. I don't know why it's not letting me get through. The other thing that he included was The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, the first paragraph. Now, obviously, Edgar Allan Poe wrote the full story, and it has an ending, but it might be fun for students to take it in their own direction by using the first paragraph and taking it away themselves. Now, I'm going to click on it and see if it'll let me take us there. And I don't know why. Maybe Nicole can help us with that at some point. But in any case, they're all there for you to print out and share with your students. Ask them to use them as short story starters, along with, and this is what one of the participants asked, where was this handout? And here it is. To guide them through the process of writing a mystery story, either using a story starter or writing their own story, you would then share this handout with them. Okay. I have to figure out if maybe I should downsize this and see why I'm not accessing the website anymore.
And you could always just pull up the website from your regular Chrome browser. It'll show as well if you want to try it that way.
Okay, let me, okay, so what I need to do is get out of the slideshow for a minute.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then.
Yep. Yep, just like that.
You know, I'm wondering if, well, I must have internet connection or I wouldn't be talking to you, right?
That's correct.
So so I don't know why it's telling me that it's unavailable at this point. But no worries, because it's very straightforward. Like I've said, it's a handout that has just a list of questions for students to answer to guide them in the writing of a mystery story. Now, if I were to pull it up, Nicole, from my own files, would that be a way that I could show it to people?
Yeah, you can definitely. Yeah, you could just pull it up from your desktop if you'd like to do that.
Let's try that, and we have time, I think. This should just take a minute. I'm sorry, I don't know why we can't access that. Let's see. Sorry, you have to look at my page here. Type in mystery and see if I can just pull it up this way. Okay, thank you for your patience. Let me see if I can find it like this. This is an old version. I'm sorry. I should have been prepared for this in case something went wrong. Here we go. So this is what the handout looks like writing a mystery story. So you'll see that there is a question to guide the students. What will be your opening sentence? What is your setting? So they might plot their ideas first on this page. What is your mystery? Who are your characters? What's the secret, the crime, the puzzle that's going to be solved, and who are the people who are going to be helping to solve it. Who's the main character? Who's the detective? And again, all of these words are going to be familiar to them because you've reviewed them. Who are your suspects? What are your clues? What are your red herrings? They'll know what that is. What are your distractions? So this actually could be really valuable done as a whole group first. You might brainstorm ideas as a whole group. They might then do a story in pairs or threes or fours, and then they might thirdly write a story on their own. So they get lots and lots of practice with the genre. So that was quick, and there were a few technological glitches, but are there any questions?
I think we have a couple of questions. I'll go ahead and pull them up. Okay, this is from Chris. How many words should the story have?
The story should have no more than 2,000, but I think of 500, 600, 800, anything in there would be fine. This isn't anywhere in the instructions, but I would make sure it was long enough so that they could fully develop a story, develop characters, and develop setting. So probably 500 words minimum, but that's not something that's specified by the contest. But 2,000 is the maximum.
Okay. The next question comes from Lisa. Another good question. Do you recommend these lesson plans in corrections? If not, what lessons can I do with inmates?
I do think it would be fine in corrections. I mean, I would be very clear up front with people in corrections the same way I would with any other class, that there's nothing gratuitous allowed. There can't be anything, I mean, you could say in corrections you don't want there to be anything illegal involved in the story if you'd like. You know, that would really make them challenge them to come up with a good mystery that doesn't involve any illegal behavior. That might be a really interesting new direction to take it in corrections. There are all kinds of mysteries that don't have to involve crime at all. So that might be one way to do it, but I would certainly leave that up to you and your population and your students and what you know about them. But and likewise with the stories that you pick, you might pick stories that don't involve crimes or illegal activities because they're certainly out there. I don't know if that's helpful. I don't know if you even think that's possible, but that's what I would say. Do you have any thoughts about that, Nicole? That's a good question.
If your concern is with the online format of a lot of these resources, I would say a lot of this can be published. I mean, put in PDF format, printed, and brought in as well. I'm not sure if that's your issue, because I know a lot of correctional facilities don't allow internet access. So
right. So most of these things could be printed, I believe. The FBI website, you know, is an online resource that you have to have access to a computer, but I think everything else you could print out. And certainly any of the Bluford series books that you could order and bring into the classroom would be wonderful to use, because the Bluford series in particular deals with real life issues that have to do with crimes and violence and guns, but they have such a positive moral message at the end that I would recommend them in corrections.
Okay, so the next question comes from Sylvia. Are these stories going to be published in a book?
That's also a Florida Literacy Coalition question, but I don't believe that was the intention. I think the intention is to publish the winning stories.
Right, that's correct. The essay book we publish every year, so go ahead and make sure to keep an eye out for that. Usually comes out, we start posting the rules for the essay book around the fall, so just keep an eye out on our website for that. There's another question from Chris. Can you send us that document? I'm assuming it's the one that you pulled up on your file.
Yeah, it's on the website. Everything that I've shown you is on the website, and that's how you'll best access it. And it's called Writing a Mystery Story. And it's, I don't know if I can go back to it. I'll try it one more time. On that main page, the Florida Literacy Coalition page that has everything to do with the contest, under resources, I believe, it says lesson plans, and then that's going to be there. So all you have to do is print it off of that. See if it lets me get in here.
It
There
should
we go.
work now. I just checked it, the website.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't know why that was. Maybe it's my, I was telling Nicole earlier that we lost all our power and our internet, and we have live cable wires running down the road, so maybe somebody drove over it or something like that. Okay, so this is the website. You'll see the story starters are right here, and each one of these you can click on, and it comes up, and then it can be printed. So everyone is going to do that. Jacob Phone Home, I showed you. 2 a.m. Route 27, about driving down a Florida road in the middle of the night and seeing lights, and what could the lights be? Face of Death, about a detective who comes to the door of a woman who's someone in her family's been murdered, and he comes to the door. Well, we don't actually know that somebody's been murdered. That's up to the writer to determine where that one goes. And then down, okay, so those are the story starters. The contest rules, you click here, and they're all written out, so you could certainly then, oh, look at this, a printable handout is right there. So that's ready for you to print and share with your students. And all of the prizes and everything are right there. When you click on lesson plans, let's see, they're right here. So every single one of these you click on, and the lesson plan will come up. So the one that I wasn't able to show you before, I can show you now. Writing a mystery story. This is step-by-step how to use it. And then this is what the handout looks like. And all you have to do is print it, and then you can use it in your classroom. And click here to submit your story is where students click. After they've written a story, typed it, and saved it on the computer. And again, Florida Literacy Coalition will help you figure out how to do it if you're in corrections. They're going to fill out this submission sheet online, browse to submit and upload their document, and then submit here. So it's actually walked you through all the steps. I think that's it. Let's see. And I think that's it, actually, with the slideshow. Are there any other questions before we end?
I think we have, let's see, one question here. Are all the stories in Bluford series mysteries? So are all the Bluford series mysteries?
The Bluford series are the ones that are the contemporary stories that take place in high school, and they're not all mysteries by any means. They're all, you know, suspenseful, and they're all good stories, but they're not classic mysteries in the sense that there's a crime or a puzzle that has to be solved. So Lost and Found and Secrets in the Shadows, I know for sure, are sort of mysteries where, as readers, we're trying to figure out who done it and what happened. But the others are just compelling stories about contemporary issues. And I've listed the stories that I recommend as mysteries that are part of the Townsend Press, are listed under resources, I think. Let's go back to that. let's see where those are listed here. Okay, yeah, and that's one I did forget to show that to everybody. So in this purple panel here that says resources, if you click on that, this is where you would find all of those online references that I referred to. So the #1 Ladies Detective Agency, the O. Henry story, the FBI crime website, they're all listed here under resources on the Florida Literacy Coalition website. And the Townsend Press books that I was talking about are all listed here. Some of them are hyperlinked. You can go right to it. Others you can find on their website. But this is a list of Townsend Press stories that I would recommend. All right. Anything else?
Let's see. We have a question here. Can the story be to any audiences, children or adults, for example?
I would say yes. I would say yes. I mean, the prime audience is going to be other adult education students. And so I didn't mention this, but I think a really great activity in the classroom would be to have your students read the stories to each other. They can give feedback. You could even do a mystery story party where people read stories to each other, maybe with the lights low. So the most logical audience will be other adult education students, both in the classroom and the folks who would be reading the stories of the winners on the website. But if you thought that it would resonate most with your students to write a story geared toward children and it was a good high-quality story, I don't see why that would be a problem.
Okay, it looks like that's it for questions.
Well, I am very excited about this contest. I'm excited about trying it myself in the classroom. And I'm really happy that so many people are interested in doing it, and I'm excited to see the outcome. And my email address is here. So if you have any questions about, not so much about the contest, which I would refer to Nicole, but about the handouts or the resources, or if you find something that you think is awesome and you wanted to see if we couldn't share it with other teachers, or any feedback that you have about this worked really well but this didn't work as well, or I found that this particular book my students really loved, or this was not appropriate, any of that feedback, I'd love to hear it. And I'm very excited about reading the stories.
Thank you. I want to mention that Anne was instrumental in developing these lesson plans, materials, and story starters. She was very instrumental in this project, and we just want to thank her for that, for all her work on it. Also, I just want to mention a quick note about the bio. Student bio should be included in the essay at the end on the same document.
Oh, good. I'm glad you clarified that. That's great.
Yes. Let's see. And I also want to apologize for the website issues from earlier. I think our server was down for about a minute at the worst possible moment, but I apologize for that. But our website is back up. And if you check the chat box, I went ahead and sent everyone a link to the Mystery Writers website. So you should all be able to access it from there. And if not, we're also on the front page. If you go on floridaliteracy.org, you'll be able to see, it's pretty much right there on the front page. You just see Mystery Writers and a pretty big banner, so it should be pretty easy to get to. I think that's...
Let me pull that up right now so everybody can see it.
Yes.
There it is. So if you go, it's going to look like this. Home, right? We go to the home.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, if you click, yeah. There it is, right there, that banner. If you click on that, it'll be the first one up. First or second banner up, so it kind of scrolls through a couple of things. So yeah, it should be right there, pretty easily accessible on the website.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Well, Nicole, thank you for all your help.
Mm-hmm.
It went relatively smoothly considering that this was new for me and we're just learning together, so thank you very much for your help.
You're very welcome. And so I think that's all I have for additional details. Anne, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nothing else I can think of, but I do look forward to anybody who has any questions. Feel free to email me and certainly email Nicole with tech questions.
All right, so I think that about concludes our webinar. Thank you all for joining us again, and just keep an eye out on floridaliteracy.org. We always have updates and new webinars coming out, so just make sure to always keep an eye out on us and keep an eye out for our emails. We always have pretty good professional or training development events coming up. We have another webinar on the 29th as well. The presenter is Roberta Rice, and that one's student engagement and lesson planning. So please take a look at our emails that we send out and sign up for some different training events. All right, thank you all very much for joining us, and have a wonderful week.
Bye, good luck.
Bye.